Welcome to the Cricket Fixes podcast. I'm your host, Cricket, and this is a space for inspiring stories, honest conversations, and practical tools that support real transformation. If you know something's ready to change inside you, you're in the right place. It's time to get your Cricket Fix. Welcome back to the Cricket Fixes podcast. Well, this podcast is for everyone. Today, ladies, women, divine feminine goddesses, we are speaking to you in particular. I have Tara Wiskow, an intuitive energy healer and life reinvention expert who helps women break free from self-abandonment, self-sabotage, and the cycle of people-pleasing. And after Tara experienced transforming her own life, losing 220 pounds naturally and overcoming deep emotional struggles, she now guides women to heal by releasing limiting beliefs, negative emotions, and blocked energy that keep them from stepping into their authentic power. And how perfect that the theme of this show is shifting into feminine authenticity. Tara, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, Miss Cricket. I am so honored to be here and to get to be a guest on your show. Thank you so much.
Well, we do have to call out. You had me as a guest on your show.
I
And
did.
literally, I just love our energy together. So I'm so excited for today I left our interview, and I'll make sure that there's a link to it in the show notes for this one.
Thank you.
How much buzzing was inside of me, just connecting with you. And I'm just grateful to spirit, the universe, everything that brought our energies together.
Yes, same. Every day I'm learning that God, the universe, the higher power, spirit, whoever you speak to, I speak to them all. There's no coincidences in it. It's purpose. Like you came into my life exactly. And I have to share this with you, Cricket, because I saw you probably a couple months ago on the podcast world, and I didn't feel ready for you. I didn't feel that my voice was confident enough to be in your space. And so I totally passed on matching with you. And then I have full goosebumps as I'm sharing this. And then I just I 3 weeks ago, you came again and I saw you and I knew, I was like, oh my God, the time has come. I'm ready. I've evolved. I am here now. And it was intentional. And I believe that you first was put in my space to make me uncomfortable, to make me strive to get there. Right? So thank you for that.
And for everyone tuning in, I did not know this. This is brand new to me, and I am humbled. I'm overwhelmed and humbled. And you are, oh my God, you are such a big force. You're such an energy. You have such a good message. You were more than ready for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And that's what we're going to talk about today, right? These limiting beliefs that we have. And this is a shocking story. And I'm humbled that you see me that way. Yeah, I'm humbled.
Yeah. Well, you hold yourself at such a beautiful high energy and frequency. You have a journey and a story that is a hard one. And you really have done such incredible work at bringing yourself to the level of where you are. And you radiate that. And I love that. I love that so very much. And what I love even more, Cricket, is that, when I've gotten to know you, even though you keep yourself radiating at this high level of frequency, you also are so loving and non-judgmental and so open to be there for all. And I love that about you because it makes the whole collective that want to reach your level of confidence know that they can. Know that they can, right? Because you make it possible. So thank you for that. Thank you so very much for being that person.
I am overwhelmed. That is, you have really summed up how I want to show up in the world.
Well, congratulations, because you are.
Thank you. Thank you
There's
so
no
much.
such thing as want to anymore because you're doing it.
Right.
You're doing it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That is my hope. That is what I want to show what's possible through the path of healing and vulnerability, right?
Yep.
And honest. We may have talked about this in the last show, just this idea of radical responsibility.
Yeah.
Like what we've literally called in through our old patterning that is
Yeah.
actually a gift. They are the hardest things, but they can, if we allow them to, ultimately become our greatest teachers and the
Mm.
roots of our superpowers.
So true. Oh my gosh. Yes, those lessons I think are the hardest. They're the ones that hurt the most. We did on the last show have this conversation just how they really slice us deep. And at the
Yeah.
same time, I get such emotion around it, not because it saddens me that we're sliced to the core. It actually exhilarates me and excites me because it opens us up and lets the crud, the quote unquote infection within, seep out.
Ooh.
And it's
Ooh.
the lesson that we attract because we need it. We need
Yeah.
it to open that wound that has been festering for decades. Let's be real,
Yeah.
fucking decades. We're not talking
Yeah.
like 2 years. We're
Right.
talking 20 to 30 years of festering. And when we
Yeah.
attract those big lessons, and this is for all listening, I used to run from these lessons. I used to think that the world was out to get me, that I was less than, not worthy, that I was being punished with
Yes.
all of these experiences. And I've come to drop into every single thing coming my way and ask myself, what is it that I have to learn from this? And when I learn it, it's going to shift the trajectory of my life. And that direction I start going is a direction I've been asking for. Like if we think about all the things that we wish for, like I just wish this or I'd really like this, and we get dropped into that. And then this big ass lesson hits us. And then all of a
Yes.
sudden we're like, we don't want this anymore. Done. Why the hell is this happening to me? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if we ask, like, why did this just come into my life? Why is this struggle here? What is it that I need to learn from this? We'll realize that what we've been wanting is coming into fruition. It's just that we have to get through the other side of this barrier. That's the big life altering lesson. And on the other side is what we've been asking for.
Oh, I love that. And I won't get into my full story here. I'll post a link in the show notes for episode 10
Yeah.
where it's called Release, Recalibrate, and Reclaim. And it's really
Mm,
my story through that. Like, what is unhealed will show up for us to look at. And when we have the strength, the courage, and the tools, we can see these things for the gifts that they are. And then once you do the healing work and you truly integrate it, right? Because there's always like, oh, you gotta do the healing work, but nobody tells you how. So we're going to talk about that today. But it's also this idea of integration. It's not enough just to heal, but it's about embracing the gifts that came from that are truly not shaping who you are becoming, but bringing you back to your authenticity, the
yes.
essence of
Yes.
who you always were, back to your home. So it's
Yes.
episode 10,
Mm,
but I'll link it in here. But I
beautiful.
love that. We're coming home. We're coming back to our authentic selves that we were born into, but we were experiences and programmed out of,
Yep.
especially women.
Especially women. Especially women. I am a boy mom and I love my three young men. I oftentimes question if I'm mature enough to have adult men. One that's getting married. My oldest is getting married in less than 3 weeks, so I question if I'm mature enough for this. And I love, like, I never discredit men and the struggles they go through because I've
Thank
witnessed
you.
it
Yeah.
as a single mom of three boys. I've witnessed the struggles they go through. And so to any men listening, you also have deep, deep struggles that you go through, and healing is so important for you just as much as the women. I just find that women are where I am meant to be. Now there are a few men that are, I always joke, but I'm serious, strong enough to handle my healing that I put you through. But where I really find is in the women. So I'm not at all discrediting men. If you are here listening, please don't feel like this
Yes.
isn't an episode for you, because you will receive something from this that you need, and maybe there's a woman in your life that needs to hear it through you. Our guides, our spiritual guides, every single one of us has a spiritual guides. Maybe your guide brought this episode to you so that you could hear
Mm.
it and you could deliver it, because the woman in your life's not receiving the message. However, if you share it in your way, she'll hear it.
Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. And thank you
Yeah,
for acknowledging the men out there and their struggles, because that is real. That is
so
real. So
true.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so with the work that you do and this idea of shifting women into their authentic selves, in our conversations that we've had, there's also this theme of sovereignty, like and empowerment and control and choice, right? That's what I
Yes.
think about with the sovereignty. Like we can choose this path. So talk a little bit about in your work how a woman can first, or a man, how any of us can first identify the opportunity, like that calling. I think about it as the soul is knocking on the door of your human self, going, "Hey, I'm here," and that message gets louder and louder, and then we come to this fork in the road, right? This is how I
Yeah.
always imagine it. This forced, almost, I would say, many of us in that hero's journey is a really big rupture, a forced choice point, and then we get to decide. So I'll be quiet and let your wisdom come through.
Thank you. My wisdom. All right. I love it. I call it an identity rupture is actually what I call it. When you're in the fork of in the fork of the road right there, that to me is where you experience your identity rupture, and everything that you thought was what you wanted in life, everything that you believed you had to believe in your life, all of a sudden just explodes right before you, and you start to be pulled into an entirely different direction of feeling and emotions. You start to desire different things that you used to love don't no longer feel like they're true to you anymore. They feel like they've lost their pizzazz, they've lost their enjoyment. You don't want to be part of it. And we start to get confused in that space, Cricket, because we're trying to keep ourselves stuck there, because we think that that's our life and that we have to be happy with what life is. We should be, I hear this all the time with my women that I work with, and even my boys, I will hear this, like, I should just be happier with my life as it is. Why can't I just be happy? Why am I so, I hear this, why am I so ungrateful? Like, I'm just so ungrateful that I can't find happiness in my life. And in that moment where we are having this identity rupture, it is not that you're ungrateful or you're not
Mhm.
so overjoyed with the blessings and the things that you have been graciously given in your life. And let's be real, the things you've created yourself in your life
Yes.
that you don't give yourself credit for. It's that, in fact, what's happening is you're being brought right here to be told
Mhm.
you are so out of alignment with your truth. You are living behind so many fake identities. You no longer are showing up as you. And what's happening is you have so much dis-ease in your body that it's bringing to you to an element of legit disease being present if we don't start choosing a different route. And it's so important for, I didn't know this, Cricket, until I stepped into my calling, and maybe we'll get into my story. But as a healer, 2.5 years ago, stepping into my calling, knowing that this is who I was created to be and who I've avoided being all my life, that we have 4 bodies: spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And once we start to experience high blood pressure, high cholesterol, cancer, any of the disease, diabetes, things that
Yep.
make our physical body ill, we have been experiencing this for so long.
Mhm.
It started in our spiritual, and it has just come in from spiritual to mental, emotional. And it's not until we're physically aware of it that we start doing something about it,
Oh,
because
so
we're not
true.
taught.
Yep.
We're not taught to dive into listening to our soul,
Oh,
receiving the messages that are coming to us every day. We're all intuitive. We all have intuition. We hear
mhm,
that, right?
mhm.
We hear, like, listen to your intuition. What does your gut say? So for those of you who are like, well, I don't have intuition, if you've ever been told or you've ever said to yourself, like, oh man, my gut instinct is strong, that's your intuition.
Yeah.
That's where you hear and feel the most.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm answering your question as a whole. I'm just going the direction I feel like I'm supposed to go.
Well, way to trust your gut.
Right?
You said something in there about um so I just kind of want to say this because there's a couple of conversations that are going on, and I think this is so important in this personal transformation, personal growth space. We have a human brain that has neural pathways and functions that are wired to keep us safe. And so any kind of change flags it as unsafe. Change is just not safe from the brain's perspective because
True.
we're it's wired to protect us. But then there's this soul aspect. And I really believe this. And as I look back on my journey over the last decade, 15 years, it was my soul. The way that I describe it is my soul was screaming at me. But I was so in my like left brain, like analytical. I mean, that had been my entire career was analyzing data. So that's
Yeah.
all I did was analyze data. And probably what I was doing coming from my logical brain was I was analyzing the fear. I wasn't analyzing the alignment opportunity, right? Which
Right. Right.
feels so differently. I know you know this. And so when I just want to share that because for anyone that's feeling stuck, there's a functional reason why that's happening. But we can teach you ways through EFT, through guided hypnosis, through meditation, through shaking, nervous system, somatic exercises. There's things that you can do to get you out of that fear-based brain to start being curious about what is my soul trying to do? And then you start becoming aware of those breadcrumbs, right? The
Yeah.
reticular, why am I activated system, like being able to start to open up and experience your brain has a spiritual function too. So I just
Yeah.
kind of wanted to say that, like, that was dropping in, right? To share that, like,
Yeah.
you're not stuck, your
Never.
brain's just performing the function it was meant to. But here we're talking about now you're taking that little conveyor belt, that little running walkway in the airport on your way to something greater, more soul aligned.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I love that you share that, because that to me is like, I call it the super ego, your brain. It's really your ego. I call it the super ego because it can be in like super controlling, because it does want, that's its number one job, is to keep you safe. And it hasn't evolved. Like, the world's evolved. If you go back to the time of cavemen and women, they really had to be very protected by the neural pathways of the brain. They needed that guidance because they would come up
Yes.
against the big tiger, right? They had to
Yeah.
fully be, they didn't have the tools we have today in order to be protected and to stay alive. And so
Yeah.
our brain is still there, even though the world has evolved and we don't have those dangers like that as present. We're still operating from that caveman woman mentality, which it really limits us. And
Yeah.
that can be the hardest part about our brain, is that it's so beautiful in what it does. However, it's so limiting in what it allows us to do and who it allows us to become, because it keeps us stuck in those neural pathways. And the really amazing piece of it is that we can actually shift out of those neural pathways doing those really awesome things that you
Yeah.
mentioned. We can actually start to create new pathways with new
Mhm.
thoughts, new behaviors, new habits. And that starts to create identity shifting, because
Mhm.
those old neural pathways, those are tied to identities that you've decided have to be yours.
Mm-hmm.
Such as what I would say myself when I was in my first marriage. I had to be that woman in order to keep my husband, the father to my 3 boys, happy.
Yeah.
And so that was the pathways that I lived by, was that. And then when I was out of that relationship, and before that, I started to shift it without realizing what I was doing, out of those pathways, creating new neural pathways of thinking and doing and being. And that allowed me to shift the identity and become the next version of self.
Yes. I'm going to take us back even a little bit further because my passion is talking about inner child healing. Like
Yeah.
your desire to keep your partner happy came from patterning that started in childhood. And I
It did.
think this is why I'm particularly sensitive, if you will, to it's not that we all didn't receive, both men and women receive programming and roles and expectations, all that deserve some rewiring. But women in particular, just because of our patriarchal society, are rewarded for serving, right? And
Yes.
so we're rewarded when we are the nurturer, the giver,
Mm-hmm.
serving, pleasing, right? We get rewarded for doing the work. It's really I have to speak to this because in order for us to then carve a new pathway, I also believe a big part of it, and this is where I get fired up about social media talking about you got to do your healing work. You got to do your healing work. Well, what the fuck does that mean? And for me, it's really working with your inner child.
Mm-hmm.
And in the membership platform, I have a whole course on this and a guided meditation that teaches people how to invite those
Mm-hmm.
unhealed parts, those really neglected or abused parts to come in and become reparented. Because through that process, because the other thing that came up is you were sharing all this is that whole flight or fight and the trigger and the fear. Yeah, we don't have tigers, but we respond to stress like tigers, right? So the stress is coming at us all the time, but we can limit or reduce the stress by having great boundaries. But
True.
the only way to develop the boundaries is to do the inner child healing, to give yourself permission and to be able to see where those threats are in order to protect your own energy. So I know I just went down a rabbit hole, but it really is like important to understand for everyone listening that stress can feel to us in modern day like the tiger did in caveman days, as well as the way to protect yourself from that, to give yourself the space to change, is to create those boundaries. Well, how do we
So
do
true.
that? We have to do the inner child healing so that we can give ourselves permission to do that. But it
Yeah.
really isn't that as hard as it sounds. It really isn't.
It's not. And we don't spend enough time at all learning about this. We don't learn about this until we're so deep in despair of
Yes.
trauma and stress that we're then asked. And at that point in time, I find for myself and the women that I work with, we're so past it that we just want the quick and easy. We want
Yeah.
that little button that you used to be able to get from, what was it, Office Max. You just press the easy button and then boom, it just is there, right?
That was
Because we're,
easy.
yeah, right. We're so far past
Yeah.
like getting through it. We've tried all the things, we've done all the things that we've been asked to do. We've went to all of the modern medication doctoring pathways, and
Yeah.
I'm not dissing any of it. I just have found that for myself, when I dropped into learning about my inner child, knowing that he or she existed, that she was hurting and
Oh,
needed to be heard and needed to be loved and needed to feel safe, I couldn't get that when I went into my doctor and sat in the
Right.
doctor's office. And I loved my doctor. He's amazing. I'm angry that he's retiring and he thinks that he's going to be old enough to retire. Who does he think he is, right? But when it came and comes to that deep, deep inner healing that we need, we can only get that when we recognize and acknowledge that our childhood traumas are still with us and they're unhealed.
Yeah.
And until we drop in and we let ourselves be aware of it and then take action to hear her, feel her, know her, or he, and heal our
Hmm.
inner child, we will continuously stay in the pattern of
Yeah.
struggling through it.
Yeah. And reparenting them. That's where the healing comes from, is giving them everything that they needed. And that's another thing that's coming up is people don't realize that these unhealed parts are still driving the bus. There's a term for it called becoming blended. And unless you've really done the work, it's hard to tell when you're operating from your adult self that
Yeah.
has the knowledge and the wisdom and is gaining this versus our inner child that comes in and says, no, I want to do this because this is what I knew. And if we can just get them to love us through all of this hard time that we're going through, then it means we were worthy of it versus
Mhm.
our adult self coming in and saying, I love you unconditionally. I see all of your beauty. It's my job to protect us and make sure that we are in situations, work, relationships, friendships, activities, things that we engage with that are in our greatest and highest good, whether it's self development, whether it's exercise that we love. I'm here to take care of you now and give you what you didn't have.
Beautiful. And I
Everything in
think,
my life shifted when I started doing this. Everything, like naturally on its own, because that little inner one can start to trust and let go. And then you can
yeah,
start to make the wisest decisions.
absolutely. You're not battling with the child and feeling pulled out of alignment with the direction you want to go, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's like any 3-year-old that's having a temper tantrum. It is very dismantling of a situation and it disrupts a whole lot and it is heard by all. And it's so true. It's like a siren going off within us. I
Mhm.
think though, Cricket, it's really important because I'm getting this very large message that's coming through to me is that
Mm.
so often when we're in that place of needing something to change in our life, we're not ready to go into inner child. We're just not there.
That's fair. Yeah, great point.
Yeah. And for myself, when I started, there was no way that I could sit there and hear somebody say to me, your inner child needs healing. Because all I could think of is, what about this woman right here? She needs
Yes.
something too, right? Like,
Oh, I'm
so
so glad you brought this up. Yes.
yeah. So I think it's extremely important to know that if you don't feel ready to meet your inner child, there's nothing wrong with you. It's the phases of going through
Mm.
healing. And that it's really important for me. The first thing that I had to start doing was seeing the woman looking back at me in the mirror. I had to let myself connect my eyes with her eyes and look at her and start to value her because until that moment, I disregarded her. She was not important. I didn't love her. I was mean to her. I hated her.
Yeah.
I condescended her. I did mean things to her. And so I had to learn to see this woman right here and love her so fucking much that I could then say,
Mm.
I'm worthy to meet my inner child now. Because up
Yeah.
until that moment, I couldn't parent my inner child. I couldn't because I couldn't even save myself.
And I think this is the beauty of you and your work and both of
Mhm.
us, right? We're getting these little intuitive hits of share this, share this. And I love
Yeah.
that you said this is a big one coming through because that is huge.
Yeah.
Is you have to love yourself first unconditionally before you can love your inner child unconditionally. Otherwise, they won't believe it. because they're watching how you treat yourself.
I agree. And I also find that we try to bypass loving ourselves because cricket, right? Like I know that you've done this. It's so easier to love somebody else than it
Oh
is
yeah.
ourselves. And
Yeah.
so we could easily look at it as
Yeah.
our inner child as a separate entity from us and
Yeah.
look at her as like our cousin's child and we're going to love her. And
Yeah.
then that's not effective healing because we're loving somebody else outside of
Yeah.
ourselves. So that self-love, which has been the foundation of everything that I've done, even
Mhm.
years back, like overcoming suicide, losing 220 pounds. The moment that everything shifted for me was when I realized the only thing that I'd not tried to get my life on track and to lose weight was loving myself. That was it. That was the only thing. And then when I started, I realized like the only way out of this, Tara, is if you love yourself. Like you got to love the woman, all 338 pounds looking back at you. You got to love her as
Mhm.
she is. Then and only then can you change your life. I know I was guided to know that. Nobody told me that. Nobody in human form told me that. I never read it. There's no way I could have known that except that I was spiritually guided by my guides to come to that connection.
Mhm.
And I'm so grateful for it because
Oh,
it's changed my life.
it's really beautiful. And I love that you were intuitively also guided to do the mirror work. I'm very passionate about mirror
Yes.
work. In fact, I was telling someone about it just a few days ago in a coffee meeting. And she's like, "What's mirror work?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh. I was like, I'm doing a full course on it in January, part of my membership, one of
Mhm.
the fast track courses that somebody can just knock out in a couple hours. But it's teaching you how to do this mirror work. And the way I was describing it to her, I was like, imagine, what it feels like to look into somebody's eyes
Mm.
and reflect their beauty to them. Imagine doing that for yourself. And she just welled up with tears. I'm like, when was the last time you just looked into your own soul and said, holy shit, look at all you've done? Look at
Yeah.
what a beautiful human being you are. Look at the gifts that you carry. Like, no criticism, nothing, nothing. Well, but, no, it's a genuine love bomb looking
Yes.
directly into your eyes. And I don't know if you have any other techniques that you want to share, but just that alone, taking a few deep breaths, centering yourself, and even saying, if it's new to you, I know this might be new. I know this might be hard. I know this might feel funny, but fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. And even just starting with, I love you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love you.
That's hard. Even saying I love you is hard. And then imagine pairing your name with it. That is like
Oh,
the
I'm so
most I
glad you
remember
mentioned that.
I remember
Yes.
having to say that like I love you. And then you like, oh shit,
Right.
I gotta look at myself when I say this. Damn it. And then you gotta do it again, right? And then to have to say Tara, you're like, oh, right? Oh my God.
Right.
Like my full body is like, oh, this remembering those moments. I
Yeah.
most important because I am so about meeting people where they're at.
Love
And
that.
I find on social media or out there with other coaches that I've encountered is that they expect you to just come out the gate and do it like you've been doing it for forever. Like it's supposed to be easy. It's
Yeah.
not. And I don't mean that condescending at all. I just get really frustrated with those messages because I watch women, I watch men feel stupid about themselves because it's not easy. And then they think, well, here's just one more thing that's wrong with me. One more
Right.
reason that
Like, I don't know
I
what the fuck they're talking about. Like, I remember
yeah,
watching some things. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, this is
yeah,
a different language. Thank you
yes,
for bringing it back to that because I think sometimes well, obviously this is where I'm always vulnerable. I'm sharing where I can forget what it's like to start that work. So thank you for
you're
pulling
welcome.
this back into the episode so that we are meeting everyone where they are. If you
Yeah,
started to do some of it, you can resonate with this. If you haven't, Great. Let's give you the starting point, right? So, what
So
other
true.
tips do you have for the mirror work? Because I want to hang out here a little bit more. Because when I
Yeah.
watched you, like when you first start, you're like kind of like the teenager rolling your eyes, like, "Ugh, all right, I'll do what they told me to do. This is so stupid."
Yes, that was so me. I'm pretty sure you were in the bathroom with me listening to everything. Oh, so first, look at your feet. Literally fall in love with your fucking feet. Like that's where I started. I looked at my feet in the mirror. I couldn't look at my body. Not at all. I couldn't look at my face, my eyes. There was no soul inside of me that wanted to be met when I
Oh,
was where I was. My feet,
wow.
I learned to love my feet. I learned to look at my feet and I complimented my feet. And I went my way up. I complimented my
Wow.
ankles. I complimented my shins. I complimented my body and I could not leave that part of my body until I had something beautiful and loving to say. And I really got caught on my knees because there's some interesting looking things, but I found something about my knees to love. And that it is that they could support me. The only thing that I could say about my knees, and I want to share this because some people are going to be caught up on appearances because we are in 2025 caught on appearances. I can't love the way my knees look. I just can't. So I chose to love what my knees can do. And I loved that they allowed me to crouch down and get low with my boys and play on the floor with their Matchbox cars. That's what I loved about my knees. So
Mhm.
bring in what it is outside of appearance. And that goes for your entire body and
Mhm.
continue to move yourself up. And that's what I had to do at that time with my thighs, that they were great places for boys, my boys to sit on for a lap, right?
Oh,
Like I could hold
yeah.
my boys. That is the most for me was the most transforming because cricket, by the time I got to my eyes, holy shit, I had an entire body that I loved and valued
Oh,
for so many reasons that when I looked at my eyes, I had this whole book I could write about why I was worthy of loving the woman looking back at me.
how beautiful. Well, and it's a gentle way to go into that process because you're right. Looking at your eyes in the mirror, that is a big deal. That is a
It is.
big moment. And I appreciate, oh my God, when you said I started with my feet, I got chills. Like
Yeah.
how beautiful to just work your way up
Mhm.
slowly into that practice of, okay, this is what it feels like. It feels funny, but it's getting more comfortable. The other thing that I loved about what you said is, by the way, getting caught up in our appearances. And I am 100% in this
Same.
program, but it is a program, right? It
Yeah.
is a societal program.
True.
But I'm still working through that too. That's a big part of my journey, and I love that I'm going to embrace this practice that you did of really. And you know what else? I don't. I'm sure you thought of this when you started with your feet, but that's so grounding. That's
I did
literally,
not think about that back then, but yes,
yeah.
it is. It really
Yes.
is.
And that
Yeah.
you knew, like, even if you didn't consciously know that, you knew to start with a thing that was your grounding force, the thing that kept you connected to the earth. That
Yeah.
is so incredible.
I
Like, and
love it.
like, I think that's why I got chills because I'm like, how grounding is that? And by the way, if you're like, what does that even mean to be grounded? Right? That's okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really just bringing our energy down, right? It's getting out of our thinking, over analyzing busy brain and taking a few breaths and letting our nervous system ease and getting into our body. That's just one form of grounding. It's just like coming
Yeah.
into a centered space out of our busy mind. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I would add to that for those that I feel like match my level of how do I do this? Like I need it in the ABCs, literally, is I love to talk about a mind's eye. So your mind's eye would be if your eyes are closed, what you're seeing in your mind's eye. That's how I
Mhm.
see it. And or how I'd explain it. So and that's what I take my clients through, is in your mind's eye, you just see this white light just coming through the
Mhm.
top of your head, and just see
Yeah.
it flowing all the way through your body, and just watch it going through like your neck, and it's at your shoulders, and you see it in your shoulders, and it's just going all the way out your body and all the way out the bottom of your feet. And as you're doing that, if you're doing it now, you just feel your body naturally relaxing. It's
Yeah.
like you are at the dentist and you're getting the gas, right? And you're just like relaxing. That is what it really, for me, feels like to
Mhm.
be grounded into Mother Earth. You're grounded into
Yes.
one with Earth. And so I think that, like, that is what helped me learn how to ground, because I tried
Mhm.
all the other things. I was like, yeah, I don't get this. Nope. This is like a French braid.
Totally.
Never going to be learned. I can't do
Yeah.
this. So,
And
yeah, that
and
helped
I
me.
remember, so the hypnotherapy training that I got, I was really, really quite blessed to learn it from someone who also did spiritual work. So she brought it from a very
Mhm.
spiritual perspective. So it wasn't, we of course we learned the staircase technique to either go up the staircase or down, or progressive relaxation, but she did the golden light touching the top of the head, filling the entire body, cascading over the shoulders, around the body, going through the floor, through the ground, all the way to the core of Mother Earth. And then the light that connected up went all the way through the sky, through the atmosphere, all the way to infinity. And that was like, it's the same thing. And that's what I bring into my recorded sessions, is that
Mhm.
being connected from above and below, like, oh my God, those
Beautiful.
energies of, Father Sky, Mother Earth, and yay, and all the
Yes.
and all the yummy beings that. And I love that you and I can have this conversation about these grounded, like, practices that support the nervous system, but also the spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I try to keep my shows at 30 minutes, but I knew this one needed its own timeline, and I'm grateful for that. So for anyone listening, thanks for I know you're hanging in there. So I want to, like, I always love to give some practical rich practices, and we've already talked about so many, and I'm really grateful for that. But as we think about this idea of this woman shifting, and again, men too, shifting into their authenticity, what are some other techniques that you work with your clients that assist them in doing this?
Oh my gosh. It actually goes right back to the parts. So, the internal family systems that you've talked about before on the other show, and just you and I in conversation, right? That
Hmm.
to me is one of the strongest and most powerful ways to start to become your authentic self, because you're listening internally. So,
Yep.
I love, again, one hand on your chest. I think one on your belly, doesn't matter left or right, where you go, that instantly calms your central nervous system.
Hmm.
And when you can just ground, we talked about grounding, but
Hmm.
again, just relaxing yourself. And if you see that white light going from the top of your head all the way out, and just settling you in, grounding you in, and just asking yourself, what's that emotion that I feel within me? And let whatever emotion comes forward to come forward. And don't judge it. Don't feel anything negative. You're just curious. We are
Yeah.
just being little curious kids standing before the monkeys in the zoo, wondering why they are eating what they're eating. Like, that's just what we're doing. We're being curious and asking questions, and just like, what's that emotion that I feel coming forward? And right now, what came forward instantly in my mind's eye, I see the word gratitude. Like, that's instantly. So
Hmm.
I'm connecting with me having this conversation with you, sharing my knowledge and my wisdom, and just me with the world that are listening. I feel so much gratitude. And then I just ask, what's important to me to know about this gratitude? And instantly my entire belly, my chest, and all the nerves, just, I'm so proud of myself that I got here. And I feel so grateful for this. And so that starts to help me get to know me, that this is important to me. And the reason why is because I'm so proud of myself, that I've overcome my battles to be who I am, to authentically, rawly, like whatever, ugly, criedly share all of me in
Oh,
hopes that someone will hear this message and change their life as well. So
mm,
that's what I love to do. It's one of the easiest techniques that I share on the fly of helping people connect with themselves.
mm,
I go so much deeper in my programs of really we unravel. What I mean by that is we unbecome who we've been by releasing limiting beliefs through timeline therapy. So we're no longer living behind these beliefs that are telling us, I'm not good enough, I'll never be successful, I'm not worthy of love. And then we actually go into the upgrade of building the foundation of what is our authenticity, who are we? And we
yes,
begin to discover ourselves, and then we up level ourselves to actually coming, which you will love this, home.
yes.
Oh, I love it.
I
Yes.
do love
So,
that. It is.
yeah,
It's a homecoming. It's
it
a
is.
homecoming back
Yes.
to, yeah, and everyone has this potential to come
Everyone.
back to home. Yeah, if you
Oh,
can
yeah.
think it, you can create it.
So
So
true.
beautiful. I adore you. I really do. We need to
Thank
do
you.
so many shows in
Yes.
2026. I'm like, I just want to ask, do you want to just do a joint podcast show? Because I really, it's, I get charged up by everyone that's on the podcast. I truly do. But there's something, my soul sees your soul. There's just something about you I
Amen.
adore.
Yes.
Yeah. And I have no doubt that people listening can feel that. So if you are listening, please comment for us. Like,
Yeah.
what was your spark? What was that little cricket spark that came from this
I
show, that
love
little seed that's planted that you are curious to water and nurture and grow? We want to hear from you what you
Yes.
took away, no matter where you're listening to this. And Tara, I'll be sure to include all the links in the show notes for folks that resonate with you and want to connect with you more. But just briefly share how they can find you easily.
Yes. So I think the best starting point is go to my website, and that's www.tara. The dash sign is very important, like in the telephone number, -wisco.com. Of course, that'll be in the show notes. At the bottom, you'll see that I have all of my social media links. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. You can locate me there. Important to know about Instagram: when you are a life reinvention expert and you work really, really hard in identity, there it's safe to say that you lived behind an identity that was false and fake. So my old Instagram, I think that I need to share this, is me trying to be the woman I thought the world wanted to see.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I had to get rid of that one. I haven't figured out how to shut it down. So if you just search Tara Wiskow, you'll be taken to my old. So you want the Tara.Wiskow.
Okay.
That is the one that will bring you to this version of me,
I
the true
love
version
that.
of me. So yeah.
Yes, I love that. And I just want to touch on this. I went through a similar thing when, because when I started Cricket Fixes, it was actually under a different company, my wellness company called Fitlandia, which was
Mm.
to help people end the dieting cycle. I'm sure you and I could do a whole show
Oh, yes.
on that. And I had a protocol and guided meditations that went with it. But I was like, I am just going to change the name. I want to leave that content in there because I want people to see that journey. So if they
Yes.
do stumble upon your old account, like, how beautiful, what an example, both of us, of
Yes.
don't be
Yes.
fucking perfect before you do the thing.
Oh, so
Because,
true.
right,
Yeah.
because you will, through these tools and techniques and opportunities, you're growing. That's the shift into the authenticity, is in the doing. So don't be afraid for who you're becoming, because I'm going to look 5 years from now. I'm going to look back on this and go, wow, look what else happened. I'm
Right?
not going to look at this stage with shame. I'm going to be like, no, she was badass too.
Yes. Oh, I love that so very much. But you'll be unrecognizable. Like you'll look
Yeah.
back and be like, wow. Like, look at me there. And I thought I was doing big, and you are.
Yeah,
However,
I
5 years
am.
from now,
You
you're
are.
going to
Yeah.
be even,
It's
right?
gonna be
Like,
crazy.
man, yeah, I just, I have this quote, whatever's meant for me is coming to me in divine time and
Yeah.
order, far beyond whatever I could imagine. And
Yeah.
that's what 5 years, your future self is waiting. She's waiting for
Yeah.
you. She's out there waiting for you to see what you are creating in your future. And it's huge and it's beautiful.
Sister, I can't wait to see us 5 years from now.
Right? I know. We're going to have a studio, a podcast. Like, we're
Totally.
going to be bringing guests in, and they get to be interviewed by
That's
us.
right. Well, I adore you, and I'm so grateful for your authentic self, for your beautiful soul, and the gifts that you bring. I'm so, like, I say this with all the humility. I'm so proud of you. I know you're proud of yourself, and it's an honor to know you. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. I love and adore you. I appreciate you. And I'm blessed that I got to cross your path twice.
Mm.
And the second time I knew it was a yes. So thank you for being you. And I look forward to continuing to travel our journey together, because this is not the last time we will
It's
be
not.
seeing each other.
It's not. And post that up in the comments too. What do you want to hear from both Tara and I together?
Yes.
I want to
Oh
know.
man.
I
Power.
know. Let the masses speak.
Oh, that would be so fun.
I
So
know.
fun.
All
Thank
right.
you for
Well,
having me as a guest. I appreciate you.
it's been my honor. Thank you. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If this episode landed for you, it would mean the world to me if you'd follow the show, leave a review, or share it with someone who needs it. These small action steps help this podcast reach the people who are quietly looking for a different way to live. Thanks for being here and for choosing yourself. I'll see you the next time on Cricket Fixes.